Hello, story lovers, and welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a classic tale that teaches one of life's most important lessons. It's a story about a sly fox, a graceful stork, and a dinner party that went terribly wrong, and then terribly right. Let's begin the story of The Mirror of Malice. Once upon a time, deep in a sun-dappled forest, lived a rather selfish fox who loved nothing more than a good prank, especially at someone else's expense. One sunny afternoon, he decided to play a trick on his neighbor, a kind and elegant stork. "I shall invite her to dinner," he schemed, a cunning glint in his eyes. "She will think I am the most generous host in the entire woods." The stork, flattered by the unexpected invitation, was delighted. She smoothed her feathers, put on her best smile, and arrived at the fox's den right on time. "Good evening, dear fox," she said warmly, her long legs carrying her gracefully to his door. "How very kind of you to invite me." The fox welcomed her with a wide, toothy grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. "My dear stork, welcome, welcome, please come in and make yourself at home." He led her to a small table set for two, but instead of proper bowls, the fox presented the meal, a delicious, fragrant soup, on two very shallow, flat plates. "Please, my friend," the fox purred, already lowering his muzzle to his plate. "Do enjoy this lovely soup I've prepared just for you." With that, the fox began lapping up his meal with gusto, making loud, exaggerated slurping sounds to show how wonderful it was. He finished his plate in moments, his tail wagging with amusement. The poor stork, however, couldn't get a single drop. Her long, slender beak was useless against the flat surface. She could only tap the edge of the plate, her stomach rumbling as the delicious aroma filled the air. She tried again and again, but the soup was hopelessly out of reach. She sat there, patient and hungry, while the fox watched her struggle, his eyes twinkling with cruel delight. When the fox had licked his plate clean, he looked at the stork, feigning concern. "My dear stork, did you not care for the soup? It's a family recipe. Perhaps you are feeling unwell?" The stork, though famished and hurt, was too polite to show her anger. She simply replied, "Oh no, dear fox. The soup smelled magnificent. I must simply have a poor appetite today, but I thank you for your kind invitation." With her head held high, she said her goodbyes and flew home, her stomach as empty as her plate. A few days passed. The stork, having had time to think, decided it was time to teach the fox a lesson in hospitality. So, she sent a message, inviting the fox to her nest for dinner. The fox was thrilled. "A free meal? How wonderful," he thought to himself. "The stork must have forgotten my little joke. I'll go and enjoy her fine cooking." He licked his chops and trotted off to the stork's tall nest, his stomach already rumbling in anticipation. When he arrived, the stork greeted him just as warmly as he had greeted her. "Welcome, dear fox. I'm so glad you could come." She led him to a beautifully set table. On it were two tall, slender pitchers with very long, narrow necks. Inside each was a delectable-looking meal of finely sliced fish and fresh vegetables. The smell was irresistible. "Please, my dear fox," the stork said gracefully, "help yourself. I hear this dish is quite a delicacy." The stork easily dipped her long, thin beak into her pitcher and began to eat, savoring every bite with delicate contentment. The fox, on the other hand, was in trouble. His wide, short muzzle couldn't fit into the narrow opening of the pitcher. He could only sniff the tantalizing aroma and lick the outside of the glass, growing more and more frustrated by the second. He jumped, he pushed, he tried to tilt the pitcher, but the delicious food remained just out of his reach. He was starving, and the stork's happy munching was torture. Finally, the stork finished her meal and wiped her beak. She turned to the fox, who was sitting in a defeated, hungry slump. With a perfectly innocent expression, she asked, "Did you not care for the meal, dear fox?" In that moment, shame and anger washed over the fox. He didn't need an explanation. He knew, with a painful certainty, that this entire meal was a perfect reflection of his own cruel trick. The stork had simply served him the same dish of malice he had served her. Without another word, humbled and humiliated, the fox tucked his tail between his legs and slunk away, his stomach aching with hunger and his heart heavy with regret. The moral of this story is as clear today as it was centuries ago. Treat others as you would like to be treated. The kindness or cruelty you show to the world has a funny way of finding its way back to you. The measure you use will always be measured back. Thank you so much for joining us for this timeless tale. Well, see you.